Now is your time to flange.
Welcome everybody to the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I'm your moderator back in the saddle here on the show, and today I want to welcome our special guest. We know her as Dr. Georgette Mondesire. Did I say that right this time?
You said it right. Wow.
Yes.
That is amazing.
Welcome, Dr. Georgette Mondesire, but we're going to call her Mama G for the podcast. I don't know why she switched up the name and everything down there, but yeah, Mama G is here, ladies and gentlemen.
But I am so happy to be on the 13th floor. Yes.
Love the excitement, love the energy, the entertainment factor. We finna do it big.
I love it. Yes, we finna do it huge and big. You know I love being on the 13th floor. I know y'all ain't gonna have me here permanently, but I enjoy the time while I'm visiting.
Hey, listen, man, you know, might be the sign of things to come. You know, we got a very special topic that we want to get into, especially since we have you on the show, since we decided, you know, very controversial, very sensitive, you know, that Me Too movement. So we thought it would be best to have a female perspective on the show today. But let me get through the rest of these introductions. We got my main man, Mr. Crypto Fresh, Bitcoin extraordinaire, Litecoin ripples, dashes, and everything.
Everything.
What's happening, bro?
Committee, we are out here. My wallet stays packed. Don't know. You better ask 3 people, and 1.2 of them gonna be like Fresh. Know what the topic is. Let's go.
There it is. In the corner with the what is? Man, I don't do cats, bro. You got to get out of here. Faison, what's happening, bro?
What is going on? Plus is in quarantine this week. He's in the basement with me.
Why is the cat named Puss, man? Why did it have to be?
Right.
At the time I bought
it's so cliche though.
No, not really. How many pusses do you know?
That one.
Gentlemen,
we're gonna have to put the square E on this podcast.
No, I said
in the name of the
apostrophe
it's not good.
No, that's not what you're thinking. But, the reason why his name was Puss is because when I got him, that was the time of Shrek. So Puss and Boots, and I didn't want to have the boots part, so I just figured I would just make it Puss. So yeah, that's where it is. But I have a major announcement today. Today is a national holiday for all of us of color, because today that we went on sale today and we got both our figurines for Eric Killmonger and Black Panther. They're officially going on the wall today. Tickets did go on sale. So if you do not have them, get them.
Girl has a shirt on.
Wow.
Hey, look at this. Look,
Killmonger and Black Panther. Killmonger.
What a day.
We're gonna get the Killmonger.
Here to stay.
You feel me? We're gonna get the Killmonger and Black Panther in a minute, because I have no idea who. Well, I know Black Panther. I have no idea who.
No.
They got 2 different names. They can't be the same.
These are 2 different people.
Yeah, I'm hoping one of them might be the villain. I don't know. Coach K, you over there on the side, man, with your Black Panther Africa shirt on, man. T-shirt game on 1,000 once again. What's happening, bro?
What up? Happy New Year to everybody. I know I wasn't here last week.
Neither was I, man. Definitely Happy New Year, everybody. I hope everybody's 2018 is getting off to a roaring start, man. Getting all of the progress made on your goals and everything going forward.
And I really hope everybody's trying for 52.
That's gonna be big. That's gonna be big. Shout out Jay Dace, phenomenal.
We'll get into that.
Easy. Faison, I'm coming back to you before we get into this Me Too discussion though. Like, I need an educational lesson, because Black Panther's hitting the theaters. When is it? February 16th, 17th, something like that?
Yeah, 15th, I believe.
18th, I think.
18th, something like that.
Nah, we gotta get it. We gotta get an official. Yeah.
Well, Carol, work on that. Who is the Killmonger? What is that? Which one is that? What is that?
So Eric Killmonger, that is a kind of an arch nemesis of him. He has 2, but that's one of the bigger ones. And Eric Killmonger has also the ability to get a Black Panther similar style suit. Not as strong, but he is the same person. I was going to
be Jordan. That's his character.
Jordan. There you go. Keep it light now. You're getting too geeky. You gotta keep it light for the people.
I said Michael B. Jordan.
Movie.
No, Michael B. Jordan. That B is important. You Google Michael Jordan,
Fighting
he's in
whoever
Chicago.
fighting Rocky Jr. to now he going ahead and he's fighting Black Panther. That's how y'all put it together. The Matrix combined.
Yeah, man. So what was the date on that thing, Carol?
It's the 16th, February
It
16th.
is the 16th.
National holiday.
National holiday, man. Everybody, we got to make sure we go out in droves. We got to see this movie first weekend. We got to kill the box office numbers. I don't know what Star Wars did, but I'm trying to double it.
The movie theater.
Yes, go to the movie theater.
Guys, do not buy the bootleg. Don't hit the corner. Get this DVD. Go to the theater.
To the movie theater.
I'm giving people rides like it's election day to the polls.
Thank you. Hashtag Alabama.
Really?
Yeah.
Back to what
Absolutely.
Obama
Have to do it, man.
Was getting in.
Also want to I want to shout out your girl from Empire. She got what's her name? Cookie. I can't think of her name.
Taraji
P. Henson.
But that's
Taraji.
That comes out this week, Friday.
Nah, it's in the theaters. Yeah, that's another one we got to go push and support. It looked like it's on some Foxy Brown type of stuff, Foxy Cleopatra type of thing, man. So definitely want to show the support for those going forward. So with the movie tickets thing, if I buy those if you have your employer and they get that discounted ticket from whatever the website is, whether it's Perks at Work or Working Advantage or whatever, does that still count towards that purchase for the?
It counts towards it as long as you just make sure the movie ticket. This is an old thing that people tend to have some wives tell about, but make sure the ticket says Black Panther. The minute where the ticket is a different name and you just take it, check the ticket to make sure it's going. I mean, granted, this is Marvel, so I don't see it being that big of a skeptical scam thing.
Like when the movies was coming out.
Yeah, or what was the movie that came out? The Slave, the
12 Years a Slave.
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
Yeah, that one was all mixed up. This is more mainstream, but still we gotta support it because there's many more characters that can get some time if we go out there and take care of it this time around.
It's not just about the characters. The whole cast is minority. The director is a minority.
Yes.
For this is just like Wonder Woman just did, record sales for a female director and a female, lead superhero, where this is the same opportunity for minorities to get more of us in films. It's not just about Black people solely. It is about all minorities, people of color, in large roles, and not just in front of the screen, but behind the screen. To have a director who is directing a film of this magnitude is groundbreaking. We need to support, we need to show out, we need to get it.
Hey, real talk, this thing is so big that while I was in Cozumel, just walking in the tourist area, they had a store that was actually selling superhero paraphernalia, and they were sold out of Black Panther stuff.
Yo, Toys R Us has it up. I almost bought it. I was so happy to see it.
Girls, even the young, the women parts are the parts that the women play, the supporting parts in the movie. They're really powerful, ethereal looking. I mean, the costume designers did a really good job of making sure to represent the women in this genre as very powerful and sexy and strong women. So I think it's gonna be a good thing for everybody.
Can we scroll that definition of ethereal?
Yeah, because she definitely lost me with that one. But hey, that's why she got that good doctor in the front of that name.
And I want just to add on to that. Yes, those women and the Wakanda tribe are the strongest women in the Marvel universe. So they're not just they go in first and he comes after. Like they are big time.
Yeah, they're not playing. Mm-hmm. And you can see that, you can sense that just from how they present themselves and how they look, just from the trailers. You get excited. They get, Black Panther's gonna give me life. The lead is fine. Women are good to look at. Around. Everybody can go. It could be a family experience. You can't even be mad at your husband for looking at this one. You just gotta share. Just ride. Easy.
Well, yeah, sticking with the women, man, it's definitely been a strong year for women. Definitely been a strong year for Black women. But the purpose of the podcast, like we said, very sensitive topic. So we wanted to do it the right way. This Me Too movement that started sometime last year and has had momentum and been gaining a lot of traction, giving women a voice for, their bouts with sexual harassment, sexual assault, and kind of tackling that male-dominated culture. But it's a lot to digest from a lot of different angles. So, I definitely want to get you guys' take on the movement, what it's been doing, how it's been affecting our community. And, we'll go around the room and kind of dive into from there. But I want to start with Georgette, being the woman on the podcast, give you that opportunity.
Well, so I did a little research, and the Me Too movement actually started in 2006, really dating back to 1999. And it started out as to support women who have experienced sexual violence. And I think it's really clear as we have our discussion, it's really imperative that we make the demarcation between sexual harassment, sexual assault, and sexual misconduct.
Right.
These definitions have to be clear as we proceed in our conversation about this very sensitive and galvanizing topic. But yeah, this movement was started by Ms. Burke in 2016, and it was really started as a way to start it as a support group for women who have experienced sexual violence. She was moved to start this movement based on a story that she had heard about a 13-year-old victim who had been sexually abused.
Right.
And so she wanted to create a safe space where women could feel safe to understand that they were not the only ones who had gone through this kind of abuse. But we really need to make a clear demarcation between sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and sexual misconduct. So sexual assault is a crime and is punishable by law, right? And sexual harassment is unwelcomed advances. And and the whole term sexual harassment was coined in 1970. When we saw that women were really starting to enter into the workforce. And so this term, sexual harassment, was really coined in the 1970s. And then if we want to look at the whole history of it, trickling down to 1986, where the Supreme Court actually acknowledged the fact that this was a discrimination case and that it fell under the jurisdiction of the Civil Rights Act, and that it was sexual harassment was a form of sexual discrimination. And then we go on to Anita Hill, and then now we go on to the rebirth of the whole Me Too movement. So it is a very controversial and sensitive issue, and we do need to look at it in terms of it being on a spectrum, where a crime is a crime, and there might be some gray area, I think.
Right, and I think as men, I'm really happy to see the women be given a voice. I think it's very important, as a victim of sexual assault or harassment or anything, that you be able to tell your story. And I think that's one of the biggest things biggest hurdles it is to actually, be able to be strong enough, courageous enough to speak out about those who have wronged you. So I definitely appreciate the movement for what it's done in that regard. And then you have all of the figures. And I think the biggest thing for me looking at it is the cultural aspect of it. Because when I think about it and all of these people that it's hitting, it's a lot of men who are in power situations, whether it's, African-American men or white men, our counterparts, but it's a lot of men who are in power situations. And it also kind of speaks to the culture that we kind of grow up in, where, if you're speaking to the harassment of, a high school kid, running past and, touching a girl on the butt and keeping it moving or whatever, and that being celebrated at such a young age. And then you grow into this man and feel like in your environment, when you have a position of power over these women, you can kind of take advantage of it. I really appreciate the fact that it sheds a larger light on these things to kind of evolve, that situation so we can get, out of that.
Right, and so we have to make the clear distinction. So you use the analogy of the running in the hallway and hitting the girl's butt versus and this behavior then maturing into maybe sexual harassment or sexual assault. And I think that's where we need to be careful on, because all these terms is the unwanted advance of somebody in power. Unwanted, unwilling, unsolicitation, not being able to have any power or any kind of participation. I mean, my butt got snapped a lot of times when I was a little girl. I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily unwanted. It was a game that we were playing. So you have to, we have to be careful that we're not demonizing certain adolescent behavior as deviant when, sometimes it might be wanted, or solicited.
So that's funny. Go ahead, Kay, because I was thinking of a game that I used to play in Philly. No, please. I can hold it because this is a cool game that I'll.
No, because I'm going serious and
okay, cool.
I don't want anything in.
Perfect. I don't want to take with my seriousness. But speaking of the game that we were taught to play as kids, it's called Catch a Girl, Freak a Girl. And that was the game where you would play in the street, and if you caught the girl, then she would obviously be a participant.
Sounds like how you gonna get it.
Pretty much. I mean, every area had their own game that they'll play, and that was like okay. Like even your parents would be like, oh, they're playing the Catch a Girl game. It's okay, it's no problem.
I don't know about that part.
Listen, it was fun. It was on the street. I mean, there was always about clothes, so it was like cool. But it was always somewhat the same, similar age group or kids the same. So it was never like a 16-year-old going to a 12-year-old. It was always in your same kind of group. So that it didn't feel like harassment, but I can see as you're getting older, if you thought that was okay, and no one said, hey, as an adolescent, you leave that behind as an adult, that can tend to drag on to certain people that didn't grow up the right way. So I want to tie that into the whole process of that game leading forward. So, okay, please bring us back to a serious note.
So funny how we've all played some different variation of that game. And I don't want it to go unsaid that I think the same thing happened to guys at some point, where the females were the ones doing the touching and the chasing. I know somebody that was, very big on that, but I'm not going to point anybody out. There's only one female on here, though. But anyway.
I'm a lady.
Right. So is Medea.
The shade.
Continue, sir.
So I think what's happening is there's a very large movement going on. This is kind of like the opening ceremonies, and it's really just establishing, okay, before we move forward with the monumental things that are going to happen, we have to right some of our culture, some of our environment, currently, things that are just taboo or accepted in society. And I think that's what we're moving towards right now. And if you look at it, things tend to happen in a cyclical manner, where you look at the civil rights movement, and right on the heels of the civil rights movement was the women's rights movement. You look at, we go from Barack to 45 to, okay, we realized that we missed out when we didn't elect Hillary, right? Because that was going to set the whole women's movement in motion. We almost missed that opportunity. And now women said, nope, we're going to stand up, and we're still going to claim that moment. And I think that's what we're going through right now. So I absolutely believe number 46 will be a female. And what we're doing right now is we're preparing for that. We're getting ready to make that large push to make that happen.
But I mean, I disagree with you in a sense, because I think as a woman, I don't want it that way. I think if this is the way that we're gonna get it, then I think it almost diminishes the it almost diminishes your womanhood in a sense to say that the only way that you can be empowered is on the heels of a sexual upheaval. So it doesn't even deal with your qualifications, your education, your ability to do the job. It's almost, well, you're a woman and oh, we feel so bad.
He was gonna say that. I didn't say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't believe
this has happened to you. So now let's go ahead and make a 40.
That's not the space of where we are trying to come from. I think that women come from Venus and men come from Mars. In his explanation, I think it was really more about just like with 45, it was a Band-Aid rip of exposing the inherent racism that still exists in America. And it isn't about trying to say that this movement is on the heels of anything, but it took the quick catalyst of something like the Harvey Weinsteins and all of this, where it's creating such a more viral, for you to say that this started in 2006, that now it's really feeling like it's picking up the steam and just that it should have. It's more about Band-Aid was ripped off at a time on the tail end of this, and it's just that it happens to be that the same cyclical type movement came previously too. It's not to say that it's just and that's the way it should be, or that it's just that Band-Aid rip helps to expose what is going on and really be that push
Right.
of, hey, there's a true injustice going on that we are trying to sweep under the rug, and it's not right, period. Like, at no time was it right, but being able to see people who are in positions of power being exposed, it makes a real impression and it brings a real light. It's just like with
But not to cut you off, but to cut you off. But in terms of this feels almost McCarthyist in a sense, because during the same time when America was going through the whole thing of calling people communists without actually going through due process. I mean, I think sexual assault is a crime. Sexual harassment is definitely a crime, and there are laws that should be punished. And if it's proven, then there definitely should be legal ramifications for these actions of these men. But I think what is happening in this current movement, as it is right now, is that people are getting swept up, and a lot of these men that are being accused of these crimes have not seen their day in court, have not been adjudicated in any way, and also they're being convicted in the court of public opinion. And to me, I just think that that's undemocratic. And I think if we start doing this, and if this is the way that we're going to say that, if you're accused of something or alleged doing something, you haven't had your day in court, you haven't gone in front of a jury of your peers, but we're going to convict you, you're going to lose your job, we're going to convict you,
not to cut you off, but to cut you off, there was no broad stroke that was brought over the presentation that both me and Carol made, that I totally agree with you, that there is a lot of white noise that comes with the creation of a movement. It's no different than Black Lives Matter. There's a lot of white.
It's completely different than Black Lives Matter.
Listen, let me finish my statement before you just assume that I put it into some similar box. My point being is that no matter what the movement is, there's always going to be things outside. You are 1,000% correct. Of course, the amount of people now saying they are being sexually harassed, and that there are issues that are going on that, hey, we're accusing people without giving them their just due. Of course, that should not be going on. However, the good of the empowerment of especially women being able to come forward and say something now, when previously, historically, that has not happened. You have to be able to, hey, this is something we have to fix with that movement, but the good by far outweighs the bad.
The argument that women have not, that just since within the last 6 months that women have just started reporting sexual harassment and sexual
I'm not saying that at all.
Misconduct is a misnomer. If we go back to the history, if we cash in the receipts,
I'm not saying that.
1991, Anita Hill took Clarence Thomas to.
But I'm not saying that. However, the light that's put on it now, and the strength, and the just last night, Oprah Winfrey made one of the most empowering speeches I've heard in quite some time. discussing the same thing, where it's not about trying to act like this is the only moment in time when this has been discussed. However, just like with the racism issues that come present with 45, that it's not about saying, hey, this is the only time racism has ever been a president in America, or like this is new. Hey, we all know this has been going on. And yes, there have been females who stood up for this, just like people have stood up for racism. However, we have to continue to expose it in order to fully eradicate it. And it's about the fact that the light that has been shined on it, and not just the light, but the movement that has grown from it, that has you're telling me it started in 2006, that the power that is created in 2018 is by far outweighing what was going on in 2006, and it needs to continue to grow.
What power? The directors of the Golden Globe last night had a blackout, and I'm wearing black in support of the blackout. So they had a blackout. They had all these women wearing dresses, these black dresses, to show solidarity for the Time's Up movement. But yet in all the categories that counted, women were still not represented. Directors, all 4 directors were male.
I think that's a little bit different issue though. I think that's a little bit different issue because with the movement and what Me Too is, and the awareness that it's bringing, the voice that it's giving, the platform that it's giving, you're essentially pushing women to the forefront, whereas for this stuff been going on since the dawn of time. Like, men have controlled this arena, many arenas since the dawn of time. And now that you have the upstarts that started this movement, whether you go back to 2006, whether you say it started with Bill Cosby, Weinstein, Tavis Smiley, whoever, it's sweeping across to kind of, hey, let's look at this issue. Let's start the evolution. When you talk about women and their representation amongst their peers and whatever the awards, the Golden Globe, I put that on the same lines as I put the Grammys or the Oscars or anything else, especially if, now whether we're talking about women or black women, it comes or black people, it becomes a different discussion. But what's the necessity for that sort of validation? Because we know how great we are in those arenas, and these arenas weren't necessarily set up to promote how great we are. We have to start looking a lot more inward to get that sort of self-validation instead of looking outward to something that wasn't even set up for us to begin with. I don't think it's necessary for us to be celebrated at a Golden Globe or any other award ceremony that we didn't create. I think when we look at those types of situations, we need to start creating or even supporting the ones that we have, your BET Awards, your Essence Awards, those types of situations.
But we're talking
let me get Fresh, and then I'm gonna go to you, Georgette. Go ahead, Fresh.
And listening to Oprah's speech last night, and her saying how much, watching Sidney Poitier accept his award when she was young affected her. I totally agree with, we need to, be about us and work more on empowering us and understanding how we can be, the directors and the producers and the executives and all of that other stuff. But I also do find the value in in her winning, in the conversation being in mainstream and not, what your mom and dad is telling you, but what people are seeing on TV, what they're seeing on the news, and what they're seeing, that it creates that same, there's some little kid right now watching who, the same feeling we all got when Barack won. That it was like, man, all our lives were told, hey, you could be president. And up until that moment, we were like, yeah, we could. Until it finally happened, it was like, oh, we could. Yeah, man, that drop in the bucket for what it does to so many people of just allowing, hey, you know what? It's not a whiteout. It's not, there is a possibility for us to do anything. We can go to the moon, Mars, wherever, be president, own countries, do whatever. That's what I love about it. It's not the broad stroke of trying to act like, hey, because it's, got some exposure now, it all of a sudden is the end all be all, and it just, solved everything. But I appreciate just like with 45, I appreciate the exposure and the conversations that are now had, and that Band-Aid is ripped off, that, hey, people understand, hey, we may not necessarily know how to fix it right now, but we know that we have to really work now at fixing it, as opposed to just kind of, oh yeah, okay, that's there. Like now, like there's actively trying to figure out what can we do.
Hold on, Carol. I want to give Georgette an opportunity to say what she was going to say, and I'll get you in a second.
I think it's interesting, but like some of the names that we brought up, like for example, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is being charged with assault, sexual assault. Sexual assault is a crime, right? Weinstein, he's being charged with sexual harassment. It's all wrong, but there's a spectrum of what we're talking about. And the real issue that we need to talk about is really acknowledging and seeing women as powerful equals. Is equality. But when we have this conversation, and as we're having this conversation, it's almost making women into these damsel in distress that needs to be saved by their male riding in on a white horse to kind of save them, to then prop them up into these positions of powers, as if they can't necessarily get there on their own.
As a male, I've never felt like that. I always felt like it's empowering women to say like, hey, we can do whatever the hell we want to, and I don't need you. Like I've never come across any female who's, involved or impacted by that movement who has a stance of feeling like I need to help them, or that I need to, that they need me for anything. I can almost, like, any female who I feel is impacted or touched by that movement, or has, watched that Oprah speech, for instance, like they are more on a level of, hey, I can run through this wall. I could build a house right now, and I've never even touched a hammer. Like, I don't need you for nothing. I'm empowered. I feel that, like, I know that we can do whatever, and not allowing a small issue to define me, that, there are people who are in powerful positions who have gotten past, things like sexual harassment, not to say that they're right by any means, but they have not allowed it to cower them into positions of not being successful, that they've learned to push past it and call out their accuser and still be motivated to be a successful member of society. And that's really more what I get from it. I don't get that it makes anybody feel that they're, hey, this is a damsel in distress situation. It's more
right.
I'm empowered to get it.
Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, I think what's happening is that this is just this small conversation between the five of us is really just a representation of, look, the gun has been cocked for a long time.
Yes.
And it's ready to just go off now. And that's what we're watching. And what I was trying to say was, let me clarify, is that the whole sexual assault, sexual harassment, that's just housekeeping that needs to be done, right? This is something that needs to be done. That's to say that, hey, you will respect us as women. You will not continue to exercise this power over us.
Exactly.
My thing is that that's just the catalyst to something bigger that is to come. And it's an institutional thing, because if you look at it, Black men got the right to vote. It was passed in 1869, ratified in 1870. Women didn't get the right to vote until 1920. Right? So this is something that is institutionalized of, look, we would rather give these Black men the right to vote before we give our wives and our daughters the right to vote. So that's how deep it goes. And I think now we're getting to the point now where we're trying to right all of that.
Right. And I don't, go ahead.
It's not about Black women. It's women. Women. Period.
Well, Black women have a totally different bone in this fight.
You have a totally different bone, but here's the thing. A
totally different bone in this fight. If we want to talk about, if we're in talk about this Me Too and sexual harassment, it's a totally different conversation that we're gonna have if we start talking about Black women.
But
in this conversation.
It is a totally different conversation. Why? Because you all have been the forefront of our family structure for a long time. So you already have some of what the other non-Black women are trying to get. You've already claimed that power. That power is now something that you're trying to, you guys are like the coaches, which is why.
But we're demonized for that, because then you have the stereotypical image of the strong Black woman, right? And that she's too strong, can't keep a man, can't keep a family together.
But that's what Black women have to gain out of this, because when the non-Black women are now granted, or they go and claim this power, that evens the playing field for all women, where now you can't look at the Black woman and say, oh, she's, you know, the angry Black woman or whatever she is. No, she's just a regular woman, just claiming her power and her respect.
Not only that, to kind of push that point a little further, I think that's all a part of this evolution process, man. It's like you have so many men who are coming out to show support and with all of the Me Too movement, whether it be Black men or men in general. And I think that's it's a true sign of humility to some degree, because and I think an earlier point you had, was the it almost sounded like you were saying the minuscule nature between the harassment and the assault situation, or the fault. Now it might have something to do with the voices that are kind of like, it's too many people, or it might be some falsities. Now, and these are dangerous accusations. You can kill a person's career, livelihood, just with the power of your tongue, if it catches the right ear or it catches the right voice. But I think that even amongst our group, it's very interesting to see, you know, our stance on it, and it's kind of it's almost antithesis to your stance on it. And I think that goes to show like the support and how we are trying to evolve as men in support of the women, to kind of give them, like I said earlier, I think it's just your time at this point.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're on opposite sides. I think my position is that the term words have power and words have meaning. And so when we are talking about a subject, especially as sensitive as this, it's important to understand the nature of these words.
Right.
As a mother of sons, and trying to acculturate them into a society in which they do have to learn how to respect women and deal with women, their aunts, their cousins, their sisters, it's very important that they understand the nature of the beast per se. These words have different things. So for example, when we talk about sexual misconduct, that's not punishable under the law. Sexual assault is punishable under the law. Sexual harassment is punishable under the law. So to demonize a man that might be accused of sexual misconduct and demonize him in the same sense of somebody who's been accused of sexual assault, it's like trying to compare. A crime is a crime, true indeed, but it's like almost comparing a thief to a murderer. It's two different things.
So I guess what I've been trying to drive is the legal ramifications of the actions. We can't really push that far, right? Like right here on this podcast today. What I've been trying to push is the larger movement. And there's something that we keep saying. We keep saying it's sensitive, but sensitive for who? Who made it sensitive? It's only sensitive, really. Okay, don't get me wrong. There is a psychological, there is a mental residual, right, from these things occurring. But I think in the conversation, it's only sensitive for the people that don't want it to be spoken about, which in most cases is not the victim, it's the victimizers that is sensitive for, because they all of a sudden can't maintain face and they're losing jobs and things like that. So that's why it becomes sensitive, because I think the people that have been victimized or have been on that end of it, they want it to be spoken about. They're not trying to hide. So I don't think it's a sensitive topic at all, other than for those that stand something to lose.
And even in that, right, I think when we talk, excuse me, when we talk about the differences between the harassment, the misconduct, the actual assault, I think the punishments for those who've had them come up have fit the crime. I mean, the assault, obviously, most of those accusations, they run out of the statute of limitations. However, the Harvey Weinsteins or whoever of the world who have been, preying on women, quote unquote, for this period of time, like they deserve to get their just due over that time. Just like the person who's accused of sexual harassment, whether it be in the workplace or in the environment, not a demonizing effect of it. Yeah, the punishment kind of got to fit the crime, but at the end of the day, like you said, wrong is wrong. And I think the reason we have ended up in the predicament that we're in now is because this is a learned behavior over time. And you started out with, okay, it was just this, and then it kind of grew into something much more. And now, like Carol said, the gun been loaded for a while and it's starting to go off.
So, been quiet most of this time. I'm trying to think of the levels of the harassments and the misconducts depending upon your pay wage or your social reach. So someone, I heard this at a comedy show, which is kind of interesting, but someone at Arby's harassed someone, they get fired immediately. Gone. No questions asked. That's just where it is. Mm-hmm. Someone in entertainment gets blasted by the public media. They get put everywhere. Everything happens. You know who they are. It's gone. Someone at government can tell you, hey, you guys are going to hear something about me. I'm very sorry. My last day will be after the administration is taken over. Why is it, depending on the level of the person you are, you have the ability to dictate when you feel it's ready to leave?
That same position of power. That same position of power. I think you have like you look at 45. I mean, this dude was accused by like 3 different women, and then he came on. He's been on radio or been on tape.
He's on tape. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Power is power, and it's what people crave, and it's what allows leniency in situations like that. It's not that it's just, but I mean, it's been that way since the beginning of time.
And that's perfect, because that's why I kind of wanted to lead that into the decisions of, we went into lawmaking and stuff like that. But in order for those things to take place and take action, it has to start from the lawmakers that are making those laws to enforce them in a different way to roll down, because it's a gap in between low and high. And the reason why the higher you are, you get that passed, because you're making a law that then takes place to move forward.
The precedent has been set. You're right.
And I agree with this. And I don't necessarily want to come across, I'm going to say something, and I don't necessarily want to come across as blaming the victim. And I don't want to necessarily be viewed as if I am supporting Harry Weinstein, right? But if we want to talk about him in particular, a lot of, and the reason why it's sensitive because it was a culture of collaboration between multiple levels of people to create a Weinstein, right? And so, and a lot of complicitness in terms of people in that industry that kind of fed the monster, right? That kind of fed the monster, right? But at the end of the day, and I say this with not to take away anybody's pain or not to minimalize, what they went through, but at the end of the day, when you walked up into that hotel room, as a woman of a certain age, if you're being invited to a man's hotel room after certain hours of the night, you kind of know what is expected of you. Now, is that right? Is that wrong?
I'm sorry. That's some old school thinking.
You shouldn't be put in that position.
That's some old school thinking, because look, I don't care what time of the day, night it is. It could be 10 o'clock in the morning.
If
they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it.
And it's unfair to know, just because it's no different than just because some chick wants to wear some sexy little outfit and have her butt cheeks out and walk through the mall with her breast half out. It doesn't give anybody the right to go and slap her butt and grab it and hug up on her.
That's assault. That's a crime.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but
just
by your
just
definition, she invited that attention.
And Mr. Producer
No,
Man
she
was
did
calling
not.
me at 3
Wore
o'clock in the
clothes.
morning to come over because he's guising it as we're going to go over lines or that's going to help my career somehow.
But what I'm saying is that was not the key. Well, I don't want to defend him. What he did on the scale of the level that he did. But what I'm saying is that the industry, the industry that he was a part of, there are a lot of complicit people, both men and women, that helped to create this monster. And like you're saying, I'm glad that the Band-Aid has been ripped off. But also, as this Band-Aid is being ripped off, we have to make sure that we're putting everybody, making everybody be accountable for their actions. And there are certain people who fed this monster, who fed the beast, and who was complicit and benefited from the Weinsteins and benefited from his actions.
I don't think anybody.
So we need to acknowledge that this happens. And women
I would
do
even say that they're actually doing
from time to time to get ahead.
I think that they're actually doing a great job of exposing females who are, firing off and not like they are doing a job of showing, hey, yeah, she said XYZ, but that's not really what happened. And I think
that's what I want to see a lot more of, man. The way that we can talk about it and the way these men who can hold themselves accountable and, step down from their positions or do whatever they need to do to acknowledge the fact that, there may have been some questionable scenarios. I think there has to be that same sort of emphasis, the other side, where we have these false accusations or these rescinded accusations, similar to Nelly's case. Nelly had a rape case not too long ago, and her testimony ended up being rescinded. He was adjudicated of all wrongdoing or whatever, but that doesn't get the same amount of press. And when we talk about, I heard the analogy on the radio the other day, it's somewhere between 3 and 5% of these accusations end up being. They frame it as like false, but it's more so like these are the people who spoke up and kind of just rescinded their accusation or saying that no, that's not really what happened, or I'm just going to take back what had happened. So if you flipping it and you're looking at you got 10 people and one girl, actually gets raped. Are we looking at that one girl and saying, oh, it only happened one time, so we're going to kind of dismiss that fact, or are we going to actually help her, offer her support? So on the flip side, when we talking about 3 to 5%, are falsely accused, why don't we kind of celebrate that a little bit more? I feel like it should be some sort of penalty for those who.
There is a penalty. Nelly is suing that chick. And it definitely needs to be exposed more. And I think it's suing her in on the path to collecting, where of course that needs to be brought more into public eye, and of course the negative story always gets more publicity than the positive one. But these are things that, hey, we are working to improve. It's the exposure allows for the increase in the improvement. So the exposure allows for an improvement. The fact that we are able to have these conversations, and more importantly, Oprah Winfrey won that award in a room full of mostly white people and had them all standing up for, making a lot of the same points we were talking about tonight, and that they were agreeing and understanding like that's a big thing. We wouldn't have thought that would have happened when we were 19, 20 years old and watching, the Oscars. Like those are conversations that were swept under the rug. And so for these things to be exposed, this is what helps to make the impact, to make it the way that it should be. Nobody's saying that it's right that people get falsely accused and that it should empower people to make false accusations. But I am saying it's awesome that people who have been fell victim to those situations now feel empowered to not sit there and cower and feel that it is acceptable, that they are now saying, hey, I'm not going to stand for this. And more importantly, people are backing them up, not just other females, but men are also backing them up and saying, hey, we are not going to stand for it. We want to have the equality that should be.
Well, a question. Where do they go? So the people who've come out and said that, hey, I've been abused, or I've been, they get the red light on them. Everyone's looking at them, as the victim. The only ones that I know that's had success thereafter are the ones that said, I saw it happening and I said no. For instance, the Jennifer Lawrence, she said, yeah, I saw this happening and I was like, I'm out, I don't care, I'm gonna go my own way. And she's, the highest paid actress, she's still making big things. But people who have said, hey, yeah, I was abused, I was that, in the past, their names are just smothered with mud because they are now stepping out, even with the Me Too's. So I think that as we continue to grow the Me Too process and we get on, there needs to be a platform where there's people who have been victimized have somewhere to go. So if it's Me Too, no problem, cool. You still can be a Hollywood, top biller, even with that process behind you, instead of being the one it's just a vicious cycle, because you say what you want to say, you do what you want to do, but then you get pushed back to this box.
There shouldn't be a separate anything. That's kind of what this.
Yeah. That's the problem, though.
It is the problem, but that's what is ill is that it shouldn't be about creating a separate lane and affirmative action part of claiming you're being victimized. It should be that there's an equal playing field and understanding of, hey, no means no, and don't take advantage of people, and let's all live as an equal society.
But again, when we're using these terms, no means no, that's associated with rape, and rape is a crime. Right? And so when we're looking at being physically forced into doing something that you don't want to do, that is a crime. That is punishable by law. What I'm cautioning, or what I'm sounding the red flag on, is this what I hope we are not getting ready to do, is to do something similar to what people experienced during the McCarthy era. Innocent people were accused of being communists. Innocent people lost their careers, had to go to Europe. Black people, too, had to go to Europe. Neighbors started snitching on neighbors. Complete lives were lost just with a mere accusation of people being communists. Come to find out, none of this was true. None of this, it was just, we just got swept up in the feeling of it all. And so my caution, the only caution that I would have, is that this to me feels almost as if we're going down that same path where we're just accusing people, we're not adjudicating them, they're not getting their day in court, they're being convicted in the court of public opinion, and people's lives, good, bad, or indifferent, is getting destroyed by a mere accusation. And I just don't think that that's right.
I would just like to say that I don't necessarily agree with. I agree with the fact that yes, they should not be the accuser should not just automatically be blank casted. But I think that in today's society, I'll give a good example is Russell Simmons. And I mean, yeah, he had stepped down, and there's a lot of controversy around what's going on with what he has been accused of. But he's been able to make his fair attempt in a public forum of doing the same thing, adjudicating himself and being able to put in perspective what happened and what went on. And I mean, at the end of the day, of course, nobody wants to broad stroke this. Nobody wants to say like it's a red or green light. But at the same time, it's about there is good with bad. And yes, those people who are falsely accused need to have their fair ability, and you need to be able to articulate. But especially all of us as men, I guarantee all of us as men have been in an uncomfortable situation where you did not mean to have something come across sexually that you can tell some female took it sexually, and there's a weird tension that you did not want to have there, that it was not even your intent. So we all totally understand and have been in that situation where it's like, man, that could have turned out as a way uglier situation. But at the same time, all of us as men have come out of it unscathed and been able to, hey, if that arises,
you own it.
The rises. It's like if you're not consistent, I'm more of a feeling of if somebody is getting accused like that, and in that time wasn't necessarily the right time. Sometimes it's because they've been doing it so long unknown to people, and that even though that wasn't the right exposure, it was false, that there was still some bad that was going on. There's a potential there that everybody has to get their just day. But I enjoyed the exposure and the talk and the conversation. it far outweighs the potential of, potentially somebody, the false accusers out there. I think that the empowerment of the actual victims is a better bonus than the failure that there is on the other side.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and then we'll go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. Great discussion all around. But it's, with the how many cases have we actually seen where we've had that false accuser come forward? I mean, as a dude, as a man, if I know I didn't do something, I'm going to be pretty adamant about the fact that I didn't do it. If it's something that I need to own, in the case of like a Russell Simmons who came out and said, hey, I don't know. It might have been some questionable situations that I was in, but I don't want to offend anybody. And if this is what I need to do for the sake of my business, I'm going to own it. And I see a lot more of those situations than I do the opposite. So I think it's definitely worth the precautionary methods, or it's worth thinking of going forward with the McCarthy effect of these accusations. But I don't necessarily see that coming forward. I mean, majority of the cases that have come out, like you have dudes like agreeing, yeah, I did it. I got to step down. You have senators who will step down. They're fighting it all the way down. But, and the ones who feel like they didn't do anything really, really voice their opinions and really fight their battle on it. So we'll just go ahead and leave that there, man. Great discussion again. Mama G, appreciate the fire and everything. You're fresh going back and forth. We're going to go over to Art, man. We're going to get your thought of the week. We're going to hit fresh for the crypto moment, and then Coach K going to take us out.
All right. Thought of the week. Live so that when your children think of fairness, caring, and integrity, they think of you.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
That's it. That one was in the trigger, ready to go for a while. Just waiting for the right day to say it.
Easy. I'm gonna make a small amendment, man. Georgette, I'm gonna have you close us out, man. That way, you can give us your piece. But crypto fresh. Yes, a lot of crazy stuff going on in the crypto world, man. I was watching it today. I saw Ripple took a nosedive. Bitcoin dropped a little bit, man. So what's the tidbits you got for? What is it? The biddy you got for us this week?
Biddy committee, yes sir. This week in crypto, what shall I expose you noobs to? It's just a real understanding that crypto is here to stay. Everybody has this, false accusation that it's some type of monopoly money, but it is really currency that is backed by mathematics instead of gold or some other, which our currency isn't even backed by gold anyway. That the strength,
that's the monopoly money.
Exactly. The strength of what is being created now in the large range of people who are everything from, I talk to people who are 18 all the way to 65 who are heavily involved and invested in cryptocurrency and the involvement of blockchain technology because of the way that is going to and is already impacting various industries that affect our lives daily. So everything from how we get food all the way to cars, houses, everything are going to be impacted by blockchain technology. So the thought of this bubble that cryptocurrency is in is extremely a falsehood, and it's propaganda spread by the media because they don't want you to come and get some of this money.
Remember, you heard it here on the 13th floor. Don't believe the hype. Get on the train with the cryptocurrency. Hey, Georgette, before you close us out, this is something that I wanted to hit on. I didn't see it last minute. But y'all all saw the H&M ad today?
Yes.
Bruh, like, this is intentional. I think Shay got off, you know what I'm saying? Theirs was a little bit questionable. There was another one that happened not too long ago. I can't remember. Dove, kind of questionable. H&M, this was very intentional, man.
Look, and I'm gonna tell you the sad thing is that it wasn't intentional. I'm gonna tell you.
I don't think it was either.
The thing with H&M, listen. H&M has a lot of these young millennials in there working. It's one of the new younger companies. That the sad thing is that they didn't even realize what the hell they were doing, right? The sad thing is there's nobody in there who knew and had enough sense to say, we can't put monkey on a young African-American child. It's never going to float. No way, no how. No matter. I don't care that he's the coolest monkey. There's no monkey that any black person wants to be called. We can't do it. And especially not sitting next to a Caucasian child with the, pretty much the king of the jungle on his shirt. Like, it's just not going to float.
I'm not. That's why I'm not letting them off the hook. You got this white Caucasian child with the daggone lion on his shirt. Then you got the black child with the coolest monkey in the jungle.
Let me tell you, we as
this happened a year or 2 years ago. Target, or it was Target or Walmart, did the same thing. Like,
no, I didn't see it then. I'm sorry, I missed it.
But it's we take too much weight because we are too active in looking for all of that stuff. My
how do you miss it?
Because my lady is Spanish and she gets on me all the time because she feels that I walk around like I am a militant, in the sense that as an African American, I am always aware of, oh man, why they taking so long to come and give us some silverware and then make them silverware? You know what I mean? Like, that's just the way that we are. We are aware of it because we have lived it, and that's our cloak. Whereas, like I said, I'm not saying by any means that they're right, and they deserve everything that they are getting outlashed from what is going on. But I honestly do not believe that it was like, oh yeah, we're gonna put this monkey thing out here. Like, I don't think there was any person in there who was that conniving. It was the airheadedness and the, oh my God, it looks cute and it's cool and XYZ, and just, we're throwing it out there and look, it's such a cool little trendy, hot little ad, and we got the black kid in the front. He's the forefront of the ad.
He's the coolest kid. He's the coolest one.
He's the coolest monkey.
And listen.
It was oblivious. It's animals. Kids love, and we gave the kid the black kid just chose that shirt. That was the shirt that he wanted. That we didn't even, it wasn't even nothing like that. It's not to say at all that it's right, but they are. I've come to realize, especially like that younger generation, they have a neutrality and a disconnect from the history of racism and the feeling of feeling like less for no reason. Like, they don't understand a lot of that and understand like what those things represent and how, like, hey man, you can't put that message out there at the end of the day. Like, they're totally oblivious to it.
Look at God. We agree
also, on
something.
Yeah, I'm also in that bubble. and I know I can. For those who are not watching right now, and those who are not on YouTube or Facebook seeing this, the steam coming out of Coach K's ears are about to explode. But I also have lived and probably still live in that bubble where I was like, oh, I see it. I understand where people are upset about it, but I would also see how they were like, oh, he's the coolest kid, and he's like the coolest. So
coolest monkey.
Listen, but I've never had an issue. Monkey. Listen, yeah. I'm telling you, I've yet to have an issue where I was a victim of any kind of either in my face racism or anything. So I don't know. My first thought isn't always that. So I can see where it could be a mistake for someone not catching it. Now I can understand.
BFBG over there.
I'm just saying, like, I haven't. I have not. So I can understand where it came from, but it's still second looking at it. Someone else should have went through before it was published out. Say, hey, this is cool. It should be a step process for the HR team to verify. A step process,
but the sad part is that step process included people who were totally oblivious.
Listen,
all they thought about was it's a shirt and it looks good and the ad is there. Okay, yep, they're centered right. All right, it looks cool, and it's definitely not right at all. But the messed up part of this situation is that they are oblivious.
I was shot there, so it doesn't matter to me. I can't fit clothes there. So.
Steve Lebomsky and Carl Person, y'all gotta take this L, bro. I'm sorry. And H&M used to be my go-to spot.
Really?
Well, that's the other thing. I've never been an H&M person. I might have one shirt in my closet and maybe a pair of slacks from H&M. But we didn't even get Coach K's tape.
You have a pair of slacks?
A pair of slacks, brother.
They fit your thighs?
I was gonna say H&M is gonna be real tight.
Put some hard bottoms on, Jack. Click the thing.
Frisco fresh, baby. Come on now.
You gonna mess around and get sexually assaulted?
Carol, did you have anything you wanted to add to it?
Nah, man, I'm not even gonna open up that can today.
Man, come on, man. I thought you was gonna be with me.
I'll save it. Listen, man.
Go. Go.
You can say it.
Here's the issue. For anybody to say, including Fresh or whoever, that we're too aware of these things, it all depends on who you are, because there are certain other communities that if they feel like, ooh, that you're talking about us, that's not right, that stuff gets recalled. It just happened 2 years ago with Starbucks. Something came out on their cups and they were just like, that looks too much like a certain thing. Oh, recall all those cups, take them back. To me, it's the same concept. I want to be respected like that as a people. That like even if it's not, but it could kind of
is.
I'm not in support or saying that it's okay or to let it go. And in my saying that we are aware of it, I'm saying that we are the ones who are aware of it. I'm not saying it in the sense of, oh, well, man, we're just more aware of it. So, we're being too sensitive. I'm saying in the sense of, yes, we are aware of it. It's not right. I don't think that it should have made it through. And yes, like you said, everything that they are getting right now and more is deserved on them for not being more aware and understanding the exposure. So I apologize if it came across as I was trying to take it as we are too aware and we're being oversensitive, because that's not the point.
I would say when you sweep the dirt under the rug,
it accumulates.
It's just under the rug. It's there.
Michael Jackson, they don't care about us, got recalled.
It did. All right, whatever.
Well,
Dr. Mondesire.
Listen, I don't shop there anyway, so.
Yeah,
I used to. I need somebody shoot in the comments, man. Tell me somewhere else I can go to get my tight pants and my
Zara.
Who?
Zara, Zara.
Ain't that a female store?
No,
I thought they only sold female clothes.
No, they meant that the men game is on point. What I hear, I can't fit anything, but that's what I hear.
Zara, you just got a new customer. I'm coming to check you out online. Dr. Mondesire.
As long as your metabolism don't slow down and you don't start to get, like the rest of us,
you better stay that model.
Listen, bro, three times a week.
That Zara ain't dad wear, just so you know.
Just stay slim and you'll be good to go. You
3 times a week, I'm good, man. I even ran in this thing on 20-degree weather one night just because I was feeling froggy.
Just don't get taller.
Don't get taller? Mm-mm. Why not?
They don't make to a
midriff.
L stops at L.
Stop at L? I'm probably not going to be at well.
Like Express pulled double XL out. And I was like, okay, I'm out of that store too. Moving on.
Well, if you can fit it, I can fit it. Because you got me by 2 inches and probably about 30 pounds. So, Dr. Mondesire, take us home. Mama G, we appreciate you.
The shade on the 13th floor today is real.
There's no shades. We don't have lights.
Yeah.
We don't pay the light bill.
Well, Dr. Maya Angelou said, courage is the most important of all virtues, because without courage, you can't practice any other virtue. I think it was very courageous for these women to come out and share their story. And it was very courageous for the women in Hollywood to create the Time's Up movement. And I think all these movements are going to work for the good. I think as we move into this new era and the conversations are had, it's very important to keep at the forefront that men and women, we desire the same things. We want to be respected. We want to go to work, and we want to be paid the same as men are paid, and we want equality. And our breast and our butt should not determine whether or not we can get those opportunities. And I just wanted to thank you, gentlemen, for inviting me to the 13th floor. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you all.
And shout out to man Terry Crews. He's the only male that I've heard of thus far.
Wasn't his with another dude?
Yeah.
He's a big guy.
Grab his package in front of his wife.
In front of his wife, even.
In front of his wife.
The wife didn't bless him, didn't just give him that right.
They got up and left. Yeah.
Were they had was it like a male review or something? Where they had
this is the meeting in a room.
Yeah. It was an agent.
Yeah.
Really?
Some type of party or something.
Yeah, but the stereotype of the black man stereotype still lives strong and true in Hollywood. So
What?
It was in
Django.
White Famous. Go to White Famous. If you watch the show from Showtime, White Famous, there's also a scene in there where that happened. And that's based on Jamie Foxx's life. So it's happened. But I mean, it's obviously
it absolutely happens. That's a story for another day. Ladies and gentlemen, definitely appreciate you all listening with us here on the 13th floor. Remember, you can get this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, catch the videos on Facebook and YouTube.
Yes.
That is it, man. We can't even give y'all make sure you subscribe and leave in the comments. Leave something in the comments for us. Tell us how much you enjoyed that fire and brimstone between Mama G and Fresh Take on the show today. But that's all I got this week, man. We couldn't even do a half a show, man. We tried to make this thing like 30 minutes just to give y'all a little bit, and we ended up going to full scale. Powerful. No shamming. No days off in 2018. We grooving all the way through.
Tribe 52.
Tribe 52. Make sure y'all hit up my man Jay Dace. It's gonna be phenomenal. Check him out, Jeremiah Dace on Facebook.
FEENOMINAL.
What's his Instagram? I think it's like JAY_C0LD. J Code, something like that. I don't know. Jay, get back on the podcast, bro. Come promote yourself.
We miss you.
Anyway, we out of here, ladies and gentlemen. This is it for us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. Open for president. Let's go.
Yes.
No, dude, no. That is not how she should get it. And the crazy part is that I gotta quote Charlamagne, and I never ever quote Charlamagne.
Charlamagne's great.
The only reason why everyone's saying Oprah could take the office right now is because of 45 right now.
Not at all. That's not